To view your data, simply click on the button labeled Toggle 2D Graphs. Rolling the mouse wheel enables or disables visible undersampling if your device is struggling by not displaying all of the data in view. Right-click this button to quickly minimize the graphs to 1/3 their height, leaving room in the central area for other visualizations. And finally, hold Ctrl and roll the mouse wheel on this button to toggle the percentage viewed label on the right side of the screen. Left or right-clicking on the bottom bar to quickly zoom in on a region of interest. Note that this bar will be orange if undersampling, or red indicating all data is in view. Hold the Alt key and left-click and drag at this zoom level to move around the currently loaded dataset. Left-click the button labeled Values Display Controls to toggle the values overlay. Roll the mouse wheel over this button to set the zoom level for the values overlay. Hold the Shift key and left-click to relocate the overlay. Right-click on the Values Display Controls button to enable the Overlay Config panel. Here you can select various channels and metrics for values display. Selecting twice will highlight it in yellow. Selecting a third time toggles the items to off. Right-click this button to hide the config panel. Left and right-clicking in the background shows the values for the selected channels and metrics on the overlay at those time points. Holding down the Shift and Alt keys and then left-clicking the mouse moves both the white lines together, maintaining a fixed data point width. Left-clicking the white line vertical controls button allows the user to vertically position the white lines on the display, using the left and right mouse buttons on the right side of the screen. Rolling the mouse button adjusts the intensity of the shaded region between the white lines. Right-clicking on the bookmarks vertical controls will generate a bookmark for selected data. Rolling the mouse wheel changes the category shown at the top. Right-click to generate another bookmark. For the 3 bookmarks generated here, the bookmark's label clearly shows its bookmark number, its category, start and stop data points, and the estimated duration in seconds. Left-clicking on the Marked Events button brings up the vertical height controls for marked events. Right-clicking on this button marks selected data with the current marked events value, shown at the top. This value can be adjusted with the mouse wheel while hovering on this button. Unfortunately, the intensity of the white lines gap is overshadowing the marked events, so adjustment with the mouse wheel on the white lines control button is necessary. Rolling the mouse wheel down past 1 sets it to clear. Right-click to clear marked events between the white lines. Regions of data can be quickly selected and then have the currently selected marked events value applied to those data points by holding Shift and Alt and right-clicking the mouse, or right-clicking the Marked Events Controls button. Holding the Shift and Alt keys and then left-clicking and dragging applies the current marked events data in a sweeping fashion. Highlighting a region of previously marked data can have current marked event values easily overwritten. Once again, highlighting marked data and setting the marked event value with the mouse wheel to clear, and right-clicking on the button will clear marked events values to 0 for the selected data points. The Channel button on the left side allows selection and deselection of tracing various data and metrics channels. Green channels are enabled, while amber channels have been disabled. Left-clicking this Channel button shows the controls for enabled channels. Typically, the second slider adjusts vertical offset, while the top slider adjusts the visual amplitude. Holding Ctrl and left-clicking this slider adjusts the smoothing level for this channel. Red indicates it is not yet applied. Release the Control key and right-click to apply the smoothing level to this data channel or channels. Alternatively, holding Ctrl and Alt, and left-clicking to adjust the slider, will apply and visually update the smoothing level in real time. Typically, the first 2 rows of buttons beneath the sliders are for raw channel data and smooth channel data visual selection in channel order, i.e., X, Y, and Z. The bottom row of buttons is often for visual inversion of each channel. Channels that are disabled here can be enabled by simply holding down Ctrl and left-clicking to toggle them to display. Related controls will then appear below the channel button. Now that we have VESBA on display, let's enable VESBA on the values display overlay. Note that a channel does not need to be enabled for display for its values to be present on the overlay. I have just created 2 differential channels, which, by default, will show on the 2D graphs here. They can be visually switched off by holding Ctrl and left-clicking on the channel button for any selected differential channel, in much the same way for default channels. Let's now switch off all channels other than the differentials, and then enable them on the values display, so that we can interrogate them with the left and the right white lines. The left position and the width of the 2D graphs here are adjustable. The button at the top right labeled 2D Graphs Controls allows movement and resizing of the 2D graphs. Once selected, hold Ctrl to adjust the right edge of the graphs and Ctrl and Shift to adjust the left edge. For all graph data, line thickness can be adjusted with the mouse wheel on the Graphs Control button. Holding down Ctrl and adjusting the mouse wheel on the Graphs Control button toggles the traces between dots and continuous traces. And finally, left-clicking on the Split Navigation Controls button displays the Split Navigation panel to allow other data within the full dataset to be loaded into memory.